That is ridiculously good. Hi there guys, Tom Quayle here, back again with another video. And today I'm checking out what I think genuinely is the best sounding digital delay I have ever heard. This is the SDE3000-D, and it combines the precision of digital with the analog warmth that you want from an analog delay. And I am totally and utterly in love with this thing. So the SDE3000-D is essentially a remake, if you like, of the original SDE3000, which was designed by Yoshi at Boss back in, I think it was released in 1983. And everybody loved it as a rack unit because it just sounded amazing. It combined lots of analog circuitry with kind of modern digital delay sounds. So therefore, rather than having this kind of harsh digital delay sound, it had this beautiful, lush warmth. And this is effectively a reproduction of that unit, but it's much better than that because there are two of them in here in a compact desktop unit. Now, the other thing I absolutely love about this is just look at it. It looks so 80s. You could like dial in 1985, drive over 80 miles an hour, and this is going to take you back in time to 1983. It just looks the part. It's absolutely amazing. Now that interface obviously will be to taste for some people, but if you're like me and you grew up in the 80s, it's just going to hit that nostalgia thing for you absolutely perfectly. But actually it's really easy to use. You've got these 5 kind of push buttons up and down along the left-hand side here with time, feedback, the out, which is basically the amount of mix of each of the delay lines, rate and depth. That's for the modulation, obviously. Over on the top right here, you've got your presets. So there's 2 banks, A and B. And then we've got all of the different functions for delay 1 and delay 2, because this is 2 SDE3000s stacked together. Again, all very, very original circuitry, just minor tweaks with some DSP to enhance things for kind of modern use. And we'll get into some of that later. But you've got like the filter button on here. You've got time ×2, so you can go from 1,500 milliseconds up to 3,000 milliseconds, depending on what you need. You've got delay phase, just like the original, you can make the delays out of phase with each other. Modulation, the best sounding digital delay modulation, bar none for me. It's just absolutely killer. Now, unlike the original, you do have more control over that as well. You don't just have triangle waves, you've got sine waves for the modulation as well, which is very nice. It's going to give you a slightly softer. I love the triangle though. I think it sounds amazing. Then you've got your feedback phase. These will basically do interesting things to the modulation of the delays as the tails kind of interact with each other. And you've got digital delay 1 and 2, so you can switch between the two on there as well, and then setup. And there's an extensive amount of stuff in the SDE3000-D that you can do in terms of setup. So I've set up a stereo delay, and as guitar players, we are used to playing in mono. Mono guitar is plenty of fun. It sounds good. I'm going through a Mesa Boogie Studio preamp here. It's a great sound, really, really cool. But as soon as I switch these on, just check out how beautiful these delays are. Listen to the way those tails are interacting with each other with that modulation. It's absolutely stunning. Just one simple chord, right? Here's a G power chord. Nothing wrong with that, but it pales into insignificance compared to this. If that doesn't put a smile on your face, there is something dead inside. It's just so, so cool. Effectively, what's going on there is a 500 millisecond delay on the, I'm trying to remember which way around it is, on the left-hand side, and a 350 millisecond delay on the right-hand side. So they're actually kind of like a dotted eighth and a quarter note compared to each other. Panned hard left and right, both are modulated, and the feedback of the delays is out of phase on delay 1, and you get this stunning modulation going. If I just play the chord really quickly, listen to the way those tails are interacting. That is something that you only get from original, proper analog and digital circuitry designed the way it should be in this unit. That is very difficult to replicate accurately using DSPs for plugins, for example. I've got so many delay plugins on my computer, and I spend lots of money on those things, and they all sound really good. I've got replications of RE201s, all sorts of things basically. Custom digital delay units that companies have designed. None of them sound as beautifully organic as this, and that's thanks to the actual analog circuitry that's inside this combined with the digital delays that are going on. So all the modulation, for example, uses analog LFOs for the kind of modulation circuitry that's going on. So it gives you this unpredictable nature that we all love. Same with analog synths, that's why we love the way they sound. Tube amps, that's why we love the way they sound. They're not quite as linear and predictable, so you get this beautiful lush. If I roll the volume down, that is obscene, that modulation. Again, take this out. Very simple setup, just 2 delay lines, so 2 SDE3000-Ds. That's what guys used to run in their racks. They had 2 of them at the same time to run stereo wet, dry, wet setups, basically. So in this case, it's like, where's the fun? Turn this on. That just makes everything sound so wide and beautiful and lush. And again, as mono guitar players, there's a reason why all those guys in the 80s wanted that very wide Steve Lukather kind of sound, that kind of Mike Landau sound, that rack sound. And having it available in a very small box like this is just amazing. So let's talk a little bit about the setup that I've got going on here, because this is maybe a little different to the way that you might run it if you were buying this just to stick in front of your amp on a clean channel with pedals for overdrive, or if you were going to run in the effects loop. So you can totally do that. This is a very flexible unit. Because you've got true stereo ins and outs, you can run a proper wet, dry rig, or you can run just a standard wet rig, where, let's start with that setup. Effectively, you could run in mono, plug your guitar into the input with anything else in front of it, like drives, chorus, whatever you wanted to run on your pedal board. Run this as one of the last pedals, maybe into a reverb as well, and then use the left mono out to go into your amp and have 2 mono delays. Okay, and they would interact with each other in series, so they would actually interact and you get these complex delay lines set up. Or you could have them as 2 different presets if you wanted to. Okay, so 2 different types of delay. So that's one way you could run it. Another way is you could run it in, let's say, a wet dry setup, where you go into input 1 and then you send the wet delays out of the left output, let's say, and the dry signal out of the right output through 2 different amplifiers. And that means that you've got 2 different speakers doing each job, and that way you don't muddy the delays. You still get the beautiful pristine nature of digital delays, but you've got the lovely sound of the analog kind of LFOs from the SDE3000 and some of that analog circuitry warming things up. The way I'm running it is a little bit different. I'm running parallel delays, but they're not interacting with each other. They're completely separate. And I'm running what's called a kill dry setup. So you can either have the dry signal and the wet signal, so your original guitar tone, in this case, this sound, going straight into your amp, or into your, in this case, I'm running through the tube amp expander, the Boss tube amp expander. And then you can have the delays interacting with that, so the dry signal is mixed in with the wet signal, or vice versa, the wet signal is mixed in. What I've actually got is, I've got the dry signal completely killed in the unit, so you're only hearing the dry signal through the studio monitors in the background. Obviously you're hearing it through your headphones or whatever you're listening through. The dry signal is being killed in here, and then afterwards the wet signal is being mixed back in again. So it's like a wet, dry, wet. I've got my dry signal in the middle, mono, and then on the left channel I've got my left delay, on the right channel I've got my right delay, and they're completely independent from one another. And that's why we get this beautiful stereo wide setup. It's absolutely stunning. So at the moment, if I turn off delay 2, you can hear that delay 1 is only in the left channel. Let me turn off the modulation and the phase. You see how easy it is to get to the functions as well. There is a basic delay line from delay number 1, and I can edit whatever I want to on here very simply. If I want to lower the delay time, we can do this in milliseconds, or we can do it in subdivisions of our tap tempo as well. There we go, tap tempo in as well. Very, very easy to do, okay? I can adjust my feedback, I can adjust the output of delays, which for me is just volume. That will be mix if you were running a standard kind of wet dry or a standard just, you know, series setup where your delays and your dry signal are mixed in together. I've got my rate for my modulation. That's not on at the moment, so that's not doing a great deal. And the depth, basically, very easy to set up. If I turn on delay line 2, that's quicker and it's only in the right channel. So when I combine them, let me just reset my preset here. It's ping-ponging. It's absolutely wonderful. And the modulations are in stereo as well. So we've got this massive width that's very hard to replicate to this level of warmth from a digital plug-in or from a straight digital delay. Like the original SDE3000s, this has got, as I say, that analog circuitry warming things up. But with the modern, super high-end Boss analog to digital conversion, so it's a very pristine signal as well. Very, very cool indeed. So there's all sorts of things I can do to this delay signal now. I'm going to keep it in stereo. I'm going to turn all of these things off for delay line 1 and 2. And the way I access delay line 1 and 2 is just by using these buttons just here. Very straightforward and easy to do. Okay, I can change which channel the delays are in just by tapping the button here. I'm in the left channel with delay 1. Let's turn off delay 2. Very pristine but warm sounding delay. If I turn on the filter, let's say, warms up again, a little bit of high end rolled off. Let's turn the modulation on. It doesn't get better than that. So good. Feedback phase. Thins things out slightly. Time times 2. Listen to that. That is nuts. You notice as well, there's a lot of delay going on there, and as I'm playing, it's not getting in the way of my lines, even the fast stuff, because of the nature of the warmth of that sound and the fact that the filter is on as well. I've got so much delay going on there, it's kind of obscene how wet this is. That is ridiculously good. And again, it's not getting in my way at all. So now if I bring in delay line 2, there's that stereo width. And that's why I run it this way, basically. So the way this is set up in terms of cabling is I'm running into my Mesa Boogie Studio preamp. That's going into the tube amp expander, which is going into my audio interface. That's the dry signal that you can hear here. Okay, no delays. Then, using one of the outputs or stereo pair of outputs on my audio interface, I send that signal into here, kill the dry signal because I can still hear that coming out from the tube amp expander. And then that's running into here. And then I'm hearing both delay lines in stereo going back to my audio interface on a separate channel. And that means, this is why this is so flexible in terms of like thinking of it as like rack gear in a desktop format, 2 SDE3000-Ds in a desktop format, is because now I can send anything that's plugged into my audio interface into this unit. So any of the amps, my synths, literally anything I can send in here and have beautiful, amazing, lush sounding stereo delays. So just really quickly, I want to show you what one of my synths sounds like through this as well, using this same setup. Just to illustrate that if you're somebody who's thinking, plugging this into a pedal board, into a mono amp, it's going to sound great, but it's not getting the most out of this lush, beautiful stereo setup. Why you should also consider this as a piece of outboard gear for your studio, not just as a pedal board, because it looks like the sort of DD500, RV500 setup. But this is actually an incredibly powerful stereo outboard delay unit as well. So let's check it out through some synths now as well, just to hear how great the delays sound in that setup. So as you can hear, synths sound incredible. Basically anything is going to sound amazing through this unit. But unlike the original SDE3000s, which are very expensive to get, you know, they're vintage gear at this point, this has got modern connectivity as well. So you've got a couple of controller inputs on here for, say, the GA, FC. You can map basically whatever you want to the controller. Then on the side, you've got MIDI in and out. So that allows you to, again, not only switch presets, but also control any of the parameters via your DAW. And if you don't want to use the mini jack MIDI on here, you've also got a USB-C jack, which allows you to install the driver and then control this unit via MIDI and your DAW via USB, which I think is an amazing addition because it's less cables. And, you know, these days, that's how all modern MIDI devices are connected to computers. So absolutely brilliant. Very cool indeed. So with that said, let's check out some of the presets now just to finish with. Not all of them are as wide as this. Some of them give you very different delay sounds. So we'll check out bank A. Let's go to patch 2 here. Again, really pristine digital delay. Preset 3. Hear the way the modulation is, it's almost like slowing down. That's amazing. Preset 4. So sort of like a slapback doubler. Bank B, preset 1. Again, kind of almost doubling with some nice modulation. Such a great sound. So good. So, as you can see, I've basically had a smile on my face the entire time using this delay. It just sounds so good and is so much fun, is really powerful if you need that, but also very, very accessible and instantaneous in terms of editing. So for me, this is going to stay on my desk as a desktop dual SDE3000 setup basically, that I can then route any of my amps, synths, anything into for amazing sounding full range stereo delays. And I can't think of a better unit for doing it. And for what it is, I think it's pretty affordable too. If you think about buying 2 SDE3000s, that's going to cost you a fair bit of money and they're hard to find. You know, they need maintenance and they're old units. This has got all the benefits of modern units and, you know, sounds just like the originals. So I am completely sold. It's absolutely worth checking out, guys. I think it's a phenomenal sounding delay. For me, It's everything I ever wanted from a digital delay unit, so I'm very happy that Boss decided to release this unit. So, as usual guys, click the link in the description below. You can check out the SDE3000-D as well. There is an Eddie Van Halen special edition as well. I'll leave a link to that below that you can check out, which has got even more features for anybody who wants wet, dry, wet setups in a standard guitar rig style setting. So yeah, check those out. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons below as ever, and of course hit that bell notification icon. And if you want to support me in my work, you'll find all the links below to all my lesson content, my app solo, and anything else you might want to check out. All right guys, thanks for watching. My name's Tom Quayle, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.